Hello everybody, DEMONJESTERJ'S here with 5+ questions to a mile maker. And my guest is...
Kris, or otherwise known as miniwargamer Kris.
How you doing today?
I'm very well.
Alright. You ready for the questions? You ready for the questions?
I most certainly am.
Alright. Question number 1 is, who are you, and please tell us about yourself and your hobby, and also, do you have more than one hobby?
Well, I'm Kris, otherwise known as miniwargamer Kris. I've been in the hobby since I was 15, and I'm an old man now, so I've been around for a bit, you know. Take breaks here and there because, you know, we all go through burnout and stuff like that. And, you know, yeah, 20 years painting. Started off painting, then figured out it was a game, and then, you know, other aspects really started getting into gaming. I like to think of myself as an all-round kind of hobbyist, I suppose. You know, I enjoy playing, I enjoy painting, I enjoy modeling. Enjoy almost all aspects of this hobby of ours that is wargaming.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, you know, it's been doing it since I was a young man. It kept me out of trouble. You know, otherwise, you know, I could be spending my money on all sorts of trivialities, and, you know.
Yeah.
And also too, the wargaming aspect, like the painting aspect, which is probably like if it's all a bar craft, painting is just a little bit taller, and that's because it's I'm an artist, and you know, I enjoy painting, and so yeah, it's all aspects of art, right?
Yep.
Why we all love it. Do I have more than one hobby? Right now, I would suppose my photography would be a hobby because I'm not an avid photographer. You know, I took it in college and everything like that, and you know, I do it for work, of course, but you know, taking really interesting photos is kind of my thing. You know, a video game, geez, you know, and I've painted by canvas, but that's not a hobby. I mean, I've done that professionally for quite a few years, and yeah, you know, so hobbies. This was my hobby, but now I'm getting paid to do it, and so can't really call it a hobby anymore. Become my job.
But here's a question.
Okay.
Other than my 5 questions.
Yeah. No. Ask
when
me.
is it? Think of this logic. When your hobby becomes your job, is it still fun?
Yes, because then it actually becomes more like a career. Imagine a guy who is a tinkerer, and he loves, you know, taking apart VCRs or DVD players now, I suppose. And, you know, he just loves doing it, and then decides, you know what, I just love all this electronics and stuff like that. I'm going to go into electrical engineering. And then he becomes an electrical engineer, and then he does it professionally. So he's doing something he loves. He's got a job at it, but he loves it. And so that's a career. A job is, you know, when you go in, you punch in, you punch out, and you know what I mean? You're brain dead, right? A career is you enjoy coming into the work, and you don't mind staying the extra bit longer to finish your jobs, and that's a career, right? And so, is it possible to have a career in mini wargaming? I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not going to answer that.
All right. You want to go right to number 2?
Let's hold on. Okay, let's go to number 2.
All right. Number 2. What got you into your hobby, and how long have you been into it? You already started at number 1, so.
How did I get into it? Well, I was a young fellow. This was in '88, and my cousins, they used to play this, which was Warhammer 40,000 at the time, Rogue Trader, and they had this little table set up, and they had these little models and stuff, and I was intrigued by this. I was like, wow, my cousins were older, right? They were teenagers at this point, who were already into all the cool things, and so I was intrigued by it. And so I started emulating that at home, with my whatevers. And then I went to a hobby store and I saw miniatures. And so I started kind of picking up miniatures. And then the one that really kind of got me into it was Space Hulk, the original box set.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw that up in the thing. And I was a big fan of the Aliens movies. And so it was the Terminators walking through the hallways, and aliens are coming down the hallways at them, and their machine gun fire, and it does all this really great stuff. And so, and I loved Aliens, and I loved Predator, all these great action movies. And that's what these games were supposed to be like, right? It's a kid's imagination imbued into these models, and you're having hours and hours of endless fun. And so that was Space Hulk for me, and I started painting the models. Then I started getting more into the whole universe of Warhammer 40,000. I had no idea what it was at the time. The whole Terminators and Space Marines, and of course they had expansions which incorporated other stuff. They had also other board games at the time too, Space Crusade and stuff. And so it really introduced you to more of the 40K universe, which was at the time, which was relatively new. And yeah, it expanded from there. And so I was painting the models, playing Space Hulk, but I had little Imperial Guard guys and stuff like that. Until finally one time I went to Florida to visit family, and I went to a hobby shop, and I was going to see what kind of models they had, and what kind of prices and whatnot. And I seen the rule book, and it had the Terminators and the Space Marines and stuff. I was like, it's a whole book. And so I looked through it, a whole bunch of craziness, and it was a game. Well, then that was it from that point, because I bought the book then and there, read it the entire time I was on vacation down there, the 20-hour drive back up into Ontario, and yeah, started playing Warhammer 40,000. Got into high school, introduced a couple buddies, and then we started a gaming group up in Sault Ste. Marie in Northern Ontario. And yeah, it snowballed right from that. We had a huge club at one point, and it was lots of fun at the time. We were all young guys, little squirts and such, and so yeah, it was lots of fun, right? But what was the rest of the question?
How long have you been into it? You've been telling a great story, so I been quiet. It's great. That's awesome.
A long time. It's since I was first seeing it when I was a young fella, 13, 14, something like that. But I didn't start buying the models myself until, I think I was 14 or 15. That's usually around the point where I equated to. So.
All right. Let's go right to number 3. That was cool though. I'm not. That's staying. Everything's staying. There's nothing. That's whole story is staying. I'm not cutting nothing out of that. Let's go right to number 3. When and why did you start making YouTube videos, and have you met anyone from YouTube because of it? Well, I know you know 2 personally that's been on YouTube, so that you work for them.
Yeah, the YouTube thing, it didn't come about until shortly before I joined Mini Wargaming, and or maybe it was after. I don't remember. Anyway, starting YouTube, it was more or less just trying to encourage myself to try and get all my craft painted, right? And and then I was also seeing lots of battle reports and stuff like that, and there was a few out there that were doing it really well. And my early battle reports were kind of like, if you go to my YouTube channel, they're you know, like my first ones are kind of bleh, and then I found
everybody
something I
though.
really liked, and yeah, it kind of went from that point. And now the last kind of style I do, I don't think there's too many people who do battle reports like that where I don't have all the dice rolling and stuff like that. My battle reports are relatively short, but I kind of like the whole cinematic feel of the game rather than a blow by blow account, you know. And so, yeah, if I was to ever do battle reports for mini wargaming, I don't think they'd be very long videos, even though it would take me, you know, 4 or 5 hours to play the game and then have a 10, 15 minute long video. It's like, you know, people would be disappointed, I think. But unless I put lots of effort and drama and, you know, created a great soundscape and basically made it like a little mini movie, then people probably wouldn't tune in. Have I met anybody else? Just David, Matt, and my friend Tyler from Slapdash. But his channel's relatively new.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I don't think I've met anybody else. I don't go to a lot of cons, which I've been meaning to, but it's just, you know, getting the time to get out there, and, you know, it's a lot of effort to, especially for a lot of Canadians, you know, like, unless, you know, because like myself, I'm a married man with a family, and so, you know, you have those kind of commitments, and, you know, I have a wicked Forge World addiction, and the wife goes livid when she sees my invoices, and so, yeah.
I'll be honest with you, my wife doesn't understand why I even am a hobbyist. So she has no clue. She doesn't. She's like, I'm just gonna be there for you, and I'll let you buy your little things, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
That's what she married. You know, she married a guy that's a model. Well, I make model. Like I tell everybody, if it has to deal with plastic or resin, I'm your man. Because I like building models. I like playing war games. I like constructing anything out of plastic. I made custom stuff for people. I'm making an R2D2 lamp with a I'm not kidding. I'm making an R2D2 lamp.
Yeah, I gotta see this now.
7-inch tall R2D2, and I'm getting a Chinese lantern, one of the paper lanterns. I'm spray painting that silver and making that into a Death Star. And having the R2D2 underneath it on a special base as a lamp in my new office.
That's very cool.
So when someone goes, you don't know the hobby. I have enough plastic and resin to technically make a whole. I don't know what I can make.
Make the whole first cast of Star Wars anyway, right? It's Jack Sparrow.
Jack Sparrow, but you want to know what else will blow your mind?
I don't know if I'm ready to be blown.
It's Lego.
Lego.
My daughter gave this to me. So, but when it comes to doing plastic and hobby, I'm going to recast that for some terrain. So, because they don't make that anymore. You can't get that piece. It'll cost like $90 to get it. So I had to cast it. So, you want to go to number 4?
Sure.
Number 4. Do you have any tips for anyone new getting into your hobby and this includes making YouTube videos?
Yeah, I do have a teensy bit of advice. Like, getting into the hobby, everybody always wants to take the fast route into assembly, painting, even playing, because cheating is often the fast route of that, right? But just getting into the hobby itself, the assembly and the painting, And the number one thing that I could recommend to anybody is take your time. Take your time. Patience. Learn to do it properly. Take your time in assembling your models properly. If I had somebody to advise me on that, I wouldn't have stripped so many of my models. I wouldn't have, improperly cleaned my models, because no matter how well of a paint job you do on a model, if the model isn't cleaned properly, if the flash lines aren't removed, if it's, you know what I mean, like if it's not properly taken care of, then everything else from that point suffers. And if I had somebody back in the day to tell me, Kris, you're going to get into this wonderful, wonderful hobby of playing with plastic toys and spending entire crazy amounts of money on it, take care of your toys. And your parents used to tell you that, right? Take care of your toys. Take care of your toys. We're not going to buy you new ones, right? We're not going to buy you new ones. And so, yeah, it's patience. That's the first tool. And so when it comes to painting, everybody out there wants to take the fast track to painting, and be it, colored primers or really speed painting models, or getting into airbrushing, or you know what I mean. Like everybody just, I want to paint really well, really fast, but nobody wants to take the time to learn the techniques in painting. And so, yeah, it's not sad, because eventually everybody kind of comes around to that point. Everybody, and I mean, you can't fault a 14-year-old for wanting his stuff to immediately look like the stuff he's seeing in the magazines and the websites and
on YouTube and everything,
and stuff like that, right? And so you can't blame him, because he wants that level, and so we all don't paint at that level.
All right.
But yeah, I can't remember if there was another part to that question.
This includes making YouTube videos, like
making YouTube channels, or making YouTube videos, right?
Channels too.
Yeah, channels too. Yeah, making YouTube videos again. Yes, it's also that that patience aspect, because research and like everything I produce on my channel, it's not 100% my own idea that I'm conveying up there, or how I've assembled the video or anything like that. I've borrowed very little bits all over the place and make it mine. And a quote that I'm very fond of, I believe it's a Salvador Dali quote. It was Picasso. Good artists borrow, great artists steal.
That is Picasso.
That's Picasso? Yeah.
That's Picasso or Bengali. One of those two.
I thought it was a Salvador Dali, but
that's what I thought too. That's what I thought Salvador Dali.
So yeah, that's probably the number one thing. Is like for people making YouTube videos, research around what kind of videos you want to create, and emulate the kind of videos that appeal to you. And they don't have to be the videos that get 100,000 views a day. They could be very obscure ones. Maybe you want to take the whole bat wreck scene in a different direction, and you might not get a lot of views, but that's okay, because once you perfect that style, all of a sudden everybody goes, you know what, that guy's onto something. Look at the way he creates this. Look at the way he cuts this. Look at the way he presents this information. It's a completely new thing. And yet he was doing it 2-3 years ago. And you know what I mean? And you'll be an innovator, and you'll be like, oh, hey, that was me. I kept that,
All right. Ready for number 5?
No.
All right.
We'll sit here and stare at each other for a bit.
I'll say about 30 seconds here. Okay. Alright. Number 5 used to be, now, because of all the war game, a lot of YouTube channel people going toward this tool, the arguments on the forums are not as much as they used to be back in when I made the question. I just want people's opinion of this question. It's the airbrush question. Because in the forums, it used to be like when you paint with an airbrush, you're cheating. Remember?
Yeah.
So, and even on YouTube, if you saw someone painting with airbrush, and this is when, like, even just last year and the year before that, people would argue back and forth. You're cheating. You're not. That's not. So, I want your opinion of this question, okay?
Okay.
Number 5 is, do you like an airbrush or paintbrush, or do you use both and why? And I know you use both, because there's no way you can get that kind of detail if you don't.
I, for a long time, was of that mindset that using an airbrush was cheating. Now, we're talking 10 years ago, right? And I had an airbrush, and I would achieve, very simple things. And it really never occurred to me to try and do highlighting or anything like that. And it wasn't until people in Golden Demon started winning and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, well, he just used an airbrush, blah, 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 right? But in my experience with airbrush, and I'm relatively new, I still consider myself a very low intermediate. I'm maybe above a noob, I don't know. Maybe I'm still a noob, just advanced noob. I don't know.
Advanced noob, I never heard that term.
Yeah, I'm an advanced noob. And I still consider myself that with the airbrush. And because the airbrush, just like any other tool, takes time to learn properly. And, you like with the paintbrush, there's still things out there, I'm sure, I have no idea what I'm doing with the brush, as opposed to like what I could be doing more with the brush. Technique, I'm sure there's something else out there I can learn with a brush. I don't think I've learned everything there is about painting with a brush. And so with an airbrush, it's the same thing. And we kind of come back to the whole patience aspect and everybody wanting to paint really well, really quickly. And it seems to be this illusion that the airbrush can do that, because I think it stems from that old argument that it was cheating, that using an airbrush was cheating, when in fact, using an airbrush is quite difficult, and it does take quite a bit of skill to do properly. And so I think that's where that kind of comes from, is I kind of lost my train of thought. But airbrush, I use both. I enjoy the airbrush. I lost my train of thought. I was rambling.
Hey, don't worry about it. You make great video, man.
But I used to be in the camp that thought it was cheating, or viewed it like cheating, not as cheating, but kind of in that same category. As I've matured, I've realized that it is a tool to achieve certain effects, because there's a lot of other things that an airbrush can't do that a paintbrush can do. And if you're a commissioned artist, painting miniatures for people, or just painting canvases, I mean, using an airbrush on a canvas is a wonderful tool as well. And yeah, it's definitely a must-have if you're in that ballpark, right? And because as far as a brush painter goes, I am slower than molasses in January. And using an airbrush, I don't know. I'm still getting the hang of it. I can't remember. What was the rest of the question?
That was it. That was the rest of the question. The question was, do you use an airbrush or paintbrush, and why?
No, I like airbrushing. The more I become more comfortable with it and understand its workings and how to control the flow, the direction, all those little nuances, how far the brush should be, how close it should be, and all these other little aspects, I do enjoy it. And it does achieve, for me anyway right now, it's achieving very broad effects very quickly. And so, like, for example, I painted this little
gator, cracks.
And this was half an hour with an airbrush using 3 different colors and a GW wash. And so
I'm
it's
sorry, I
not
don't
bad.
like the washers from GW.
But it's not bad. But I mean, like, could I have done it better? Oh yes, definitely. I could have done it better with a brush. Could I have done it faster? No.
All right. Let's get to number 6 real quick. Because number 6 is what was your favorite mini or model to paint, build? Just reason why. Why is your favorite?
Gee, I don't know if I have a favorite. Oh man, I have to look around here. Favorite mini ever
Or
in the
model.
history.
Or model. Like, the one thing that made it was like, wow, I made that. Or the one thing that always, if someone says, oh, when someone asks you what's your favorite thing to do or favorite thing, and you show the model, the first thing that you show, something like that.
When I was younger, I used to love putting together model airplanes, and I was really happy with. I used to have a big Enterprise from Next Generation that I painted, and the next thing I was going to do was I was going to get the LED kit for it, and I was going to LED the model up, and I was going to do it as the sister ship to the Enterprise, the Yamato, and so I was going to have the two ships, and I'm a bit of a Star Trek geek, and so when I was younger, I used to love putting together my Star Trek ships and stuff like that. And yeah, that was the model that I loved. And then one day, in my poor judgment, I smashed the model. I used fireworks and stuff, and I made the Enterprise explode. So I hit the self-destruct basically, and the Enterprise was destroyed. And
okay.
Yeah, that was it. I was very proud of my model, and I had all the little panel lines, all the decals and everything like that, all the windows painted. And I had fussed over this model for ages, it seemed.
And you just decided to blow it up?
Just blow it right up. Right? So I burned it up, and I had battle damage and stuff on it, and then had the fireworks, the ones that are kind of like a cone, like the little volcano ones.
Yeah.
Those. And it just and fire and melted, and it was great though. It's a memory here now. I wish I could project my thoughts so that everybody could see what happened that day. But how I took something that I loved so and set it on fire, I don't know.
We do. I have to say this. We do the weirdest stuff when we're younger.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's go to number 7. This is another one of those questions. So if you have questions on the question. What's your opinion of a model maker to a wargamer? Or is there a happy medium between?
I like to think I'm a happy medium. The difference between the model maker and the wargamer, well, I have a friend, because we all have friends in our gaming groups, right, who are either or the category,
Yes,
right?
That's where the question came from.
The wargamer, he's constantly scheming, he's looking at the rules, he's trying to find exploits, he's talking about the game, he's talking about the mechanics of the game. The model maker, he's fussing over the little details. He wants a unit to look like taking a box of dire vendors and making each of those models look like a different guy, and then buying another box of them and making all them look different from the last 10. You know what I mean? So that every model is completely different. That's a model maker.
Mm-hmm.
He's deranged, and I know one of those guys, and I know a few of them, but there's one guy who stands out the most back in the suit, and a great guy, and he's one of those avid collectors, and it's just a monstrous collection he has. Monstrous, he's got to have at least like 4,000 or 5,000 points of every armor in Warhammer 40k. Fantasy. You know what? I don't even know if he collects rolls. But the man's crazy. He's on crack. Forge World. As soon as something new in Forge World, he's got 3 of them coming in that day they're released. He calls up Games Workshop in the UK, and they know him by his first name. The man is crazy. Wonderful. But he's a model maker. When he games, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating to play with the man because the game is not going like how he envisioned it. The game is just this. He wants this way, and you know. So yeah. On my YouTube channel, it's a video a while back. It's an apocalypse game where my Eldar are taking on a large Imperial Guard army that's like behind fortresses, and that was taking place at his house. And if you look around the background, you'll see varying items of his insanity, like the 12-inch GI Joes, and the man's crazy. And so, my opinion on them, you need them both, right?
Yeah.
It's like a thermometer. It's like a thermometer. You have to have the 2 extremes, and then we're all somewhere around the 0 mark, right?
Yeah.
Well, 30 for Fahrenheit, right?
Yeah.
By Celsius. 0 is the freezing, absolute freezing point, right?
Yep.
And so, you know, you have some gamers who are right into the models, and you have some that are right into the game itself. And, you know, we all somewhere fit on that scale. And some guys we know are completely out of their mind. And both sides, you know, the guys who are constantly conniving about the rules, and they just give you headaches, and it's like
the rule Nazis.
Yeah, the rule lawyers, you know.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's like you're whipping out your you need like a law degree to go through your War Machine rules. And, you know, you're citing instances, and well, you're going by this previous case between this game and this game, and where we ruled it this way. It's like, what are you talking about? Stop the madness! And
Yep.
But love them both. You need them both, because that way you don't seem as crazy compared to them.
All right. Let's go with ready for the last question?
I am totally ready.
All right. Number 8 is, who do you think I should ask these questions to next, and why?
I've thought about this, and I would like to say, I'd like to see either a character like Jawa Balls.
I've been trying to get Jawa Balls for a while.
Or his buddy Fritz.
I've been trying to get Fritz too.
I would like to see either one of those 2 guys. Fritz more so than Jawa. Jawa Balls, he's got the channel on miniwargaming, so we get here and see him, and you know, it's all great. But Fritz, for whatever reason, he's a man of mystery. You don't really know what the man looks like. And it's kind of like Wilson back in Home Improvement days. You know, Wilson, he's on the fence and you just, you know what I mean? You only saw the top of his face.
That, or
it's
what about
like that? And it's like, well, we got to see what this man looks like, right?
him, or like the Great Jojo Man, or War Boss Tay? You never see them. You see him.
I am so sorry.
Don't worry about it, hon.
I know I'm in technical difficulty.
There's no technical difficulty. You coughed up, though. That's staying in. My wife, everybody. Say hi.
Hi.
There. With the Great Jojo Man, he has the mask on at all times. There's another guy that has the skull. He wears the skull mask. I forget his name.
Oh yeah.
Something, huh?
The Scottish kid. I can't
Yeah, forget his name. Him and the Great Jojo Man used to have the battles back and forth, beating the side of each other. So when it comes to people not seeing their face, and you have to, even though I did get War Boss Tay, and yes, he did pwn me. He's like, I'll show my face on film. Next minute, boof, I get Rorschach. Yeah, I mean, really, he literally wore a scarf wrapped around his head like Rorschach. So,
well, if you're sending another email towards Fritz, just say, Kris from Mini Wargaming really wanted to see you do an interview.
yeah, that's what I usually say. I'll say that because you said it. Well,
yeah.
That's the show. This is now what I call shameless plug time. Shameless plug time is when you could your Facebook, Twitter, your YouTube page, your channel, anybody you want to like shout out. Just anything you say right now goes right into the credits, in the description down below. And all I ask is if you say a person's website or channel, just send me an email with all that information of extra stuff. So now it's your time to shine, and I sit back and just listen again. And tell me when you're done.
Okay, shameless plug time. Shameless plug time is my channel on YouTube. I've recently updated my intro video, and I've got plans to get more stuff posted onto the channel so that, gets a little bit more views and, so don't forget to like and subscribe that stuff because it's all good. I mean,
I'll have that in your channel in the description.
Yeah. Facebook, my Facebook page is really boring. It's mostly family stuff. So, shout out to my buddy Tyler at Slapdash and all the crew back in the Sioux. If you need your models painted, go to Slapdash because they'll use a paintbrush like this. They'll just use a big old paintbrush like this, and they'll paint your delicate, tiny little models with a big brush like this. Somehow they make it work. And I don't know. What else?
Sorry about that. Just keep it going.
My blog, Rise of the Cosmic Serpent. I post random crap there too.
All right.
It's all random. Like my stuff, like I do the stuff for Mini Wargaming, and it's like paint. And then for my channel, my subscribers, it's like, Kris, are you painting? Yeah. Sometimes I don't know.
All right.
So that's gonna be random. I've got actually kind of like a short film that'll be posting soon. It's a short film, but it's gonna be completely different. But it's gonna be with familiar faces. So be on the watch for that.
All right.
That'll be from my channel, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that's it.
That's it?
That's all I got.
Okay.
I'm emotionally drained here from these grueling questions and such.
I'm so sorry.
I know. The entire time you're sending me emails like, come on, man, we got to do this. I got to answer my question. I got like 20 questions for you. I felt like Clinton during the Monica Lewinsky trials here. Holy moly.
Not that bad. Come on, I sent you 3 emails.
I know.
I know. Cafe. All right. That's the show. Thank you for being on it.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, go for it.
What made you decide to start doing these interviews?
To be honest with you, I lost all my stuff in a fire a couple years back. All my equipment, my hobby stuff, and all that. And then I got out of being a model maker and creator of the minis and all that. And I moved to Florida and I started making stuff. I started to watch YouTube videos, and a couple of YouTubers I went out to get my mojo back. I was getting back into the hobby, get back to creating and being who I am instead of who I like. You know what I mean? Like when you get back in the hobby, you really trying to find who you are again. Well, for me, I was the artist, and I want to get everything. I want to get back to what I was doing, back to me painting and creating. So to get that, I figured I'm watching all these people put their heart out there. Why not ask them why they like it so much? Maybe it'll get me to get my engine going. And that's the reason why I came up with the show. Thank you for asking, because no one's had to ask that question.
Well, I too am an observer of humanity, and
Thank you. Well, thank you for asking me a question. And I think I'm gonna start asking a person if they ask me back a question, because now that sounds like something cool. Maybe they have a question of me. That's kind of fun.
well, we might as well get to know you as you are getting to know the community, right?
Yep.
So it only makes sense.
Yep.
Give and take, right?
Yep. Thank you for being on the show.
No problem.
Thank you for asking that question. And I have to say this, like I tell everybody, keep your blade sharp and let the hobby be fun. Bye, everybody.